great to be here, and this is such a wonderful conference. I am learning so much. Thanks so much to all of you, and Alan, thanks for organizing it, thanks for inviting me. It's wonderful to be here. Listen, I have a budget of about 1.2 billion every year I have to spend on research, but I have no fancy slides. So I really apologize. I'm going to tell you something about what my office does and what the Transportation Department does. Then I look forward to interacting with all of you for the rest of the day and taking your questions and learning more from you about what you are doing. Well, I'm Deputy Assistant Secretary of Transportation, Deputy Assistant Secretary for Research and Technology. And the Office of Research and Technology has a coordination of about $1 billion a year in research funds. And we coordinate this funding over all the different modes. The Transit Administration, the Motor Carrier Administration, all these different parts of the Transportation Department. And after the shutdown, we got our billion for FY19. And we are going through all the research proposals in the different modes, making sure they don't duplicate each other, trying to make sure that they are worthwhile projects. For example, why spend $5 million on research on biofuels when we know the reason that planes don't use biofuels is because biofuels are more expensive? Couldn't we spend it on something more useful? Well, we really wish that Congress would not give us the $1 billion for 2020, and we could just digest the $1 billion for FY19 and see how those projects have worked out before we put more money into research. But that's not how it works at OSTR. We get $1 billion a year, whether we want it or not, and we have to figure out the best way of spending it, and it's an extremely difficult and laborious process. We think of different metrics such as technology transfer, how much research is transferred to the private sector and is used, but that's not a good metric either, because there could be a perfectly good project that does not transfer any technology. Or there could be technology that is discovered that's not worth deploying to the private sector, just like oil companies have dry holes. There's obviously some dry holes. As well as coordinating the research among the modes, we have 75 million that goes to the university transportation centers, and these are all over the country. They do wonderful research, and again, we need to make sure that they don't duplicate with research in the modes, and also that they don't duplicate, and also with the other research, it doesn't displace or substitute for research that is done by private companies. We don't just do research in my office. We are the Office of Research and Technology. So under the technology sector, we've been asked to find a backup for GPS, a terrestrial-based backup in case our satellites get knocked out by an electromagnetic storm or in some military occurrence. Not that I want to scare anyone, but we have to be prepared for everything. So we just now have out a request for information for different technology that can be used to back up GPS. And there's one very popular one called ELRAN that was developed by the Coast Guard, and some people are in favor of that. But one bill in Congress actually has told us to put in place ELRAN, but another bill in Congress has told us to look at different technologies and test them. So that's what we are doing. My office has a center in Boston called Volpe with 500 people. That's where we're going to be doing the testing. And after we've done the apples-to-apples testing of these different technologies, then the Transportation Department, the Defense Department, and the Department of Homeland Security are going to get together and pick one technology for the government to invest in. And hopefully that will happen by August 2020, if it is on schedule, which we hope it will be. I also have a Spectrum office, and we are now looking at applications for the 5.9 gigahertz band. And listening to all of you today, there are a lot of applications of technology that runs on that band of spectrum. And it's extremely important that you talk about it and we talk about it, because the Federal Communications Commission is talking about taking it away and using it for Wi-Fi, because they say it is not being sufficiently used. So we're having a series of conferences at the Transportation Department and meetings so that companies can come and individuals can come to say how this technology is being used. And there was DSRC, which was one form of technology. There's something called CVX, which is how people communicate not just with each other, but also with infrastructure. And all of you know a lot more about this than many people. You know why it is important. And it was very disappointing that over the past year, Commissioner Mike O'Reilly and Commissioner Jessica Rosenworcel has said this should be open to Wi-Fi. And just yesterday, Chairman Ajit Pai gave a speech before a Wi-Fi Alliance saying this should be open to Wi-Fi. There is a notice of proposed rulemaking in draft that is probably going to be released tomorrow, 3 weeks ahead of the next FCC meeting on June 6th, where they are going to talk about 4 options, one of which is keeping the entire 5.9 band for traffic safety, which is what all of us want. One is giving it entirely to Wi-Fi. One is sharing it with Wi-Fi by splitting the band in 2. One is sharing it with Wi-Fi by allowing Wi-Fi on the band. Now, experts know that when Wi-Fi is allowed on a band, it takes over, it degrades the spectrum. And when anyone talks about putting Wi-Fi on a band used for airline safety, the FAA jumps up and down and says, well, planes will fall out of the sky. We cannot have Wi-Fi on our spectrum. But when it's for traffic safety, and there are 37,000 people killed on the roads every year, 2.7 million injuries, this seems to be accepted. And we need all of you, when the FCC comes out with this notice of proposed rulemaking, which is going to be, people say, on June 6th, we need all of you to chime in and say, no, we need this for autonomous vehicles, for connected technology, for connected infrastructure, and make sure that the FCC just keeps it for traffic safety, as was requested by Congress in 1998. It would be tragic if now that we have the technology is starting to develop, this is the time when the FCC takes away our band of spectrum. And Europe has reserved a band of spectrum. They are using a technology called DSRC. China, Asia have reserved a band of spectrum. They are using the vehicle-to-vehicle technology, different technology. It would really be sad if the United States was the only the only country not using this technology and not having connected vehicles for traffic safety. Before working at DOT, I came from the Treasury. I was Acting Assistant Secretary for Economic Policy. And let me tell you, it's completely different working at DOT from any of the other agencies I've worked at. I also worked at the Labor Department, the Council of Economic Advisors. And at DOT, it's much less political. It's a lot more hands-on. There are people who are truck people, rail people, sea people, transit people, and there's a lot of focus on how to get things done. So when I was at the Treasury Department, I would go to the OECD meetings and make presentations about what was going to happen to the US economy. Was it going to grow at 2.9 or 3%? Was unemployment going to be 3.8 or 3.7 over the next month? These tiny little details. Believe it or not, there were hour-long meetings as to whether the real discount rate, the real interest rate for Social Security trust fund purposes should be 2.4 or 2.6. Hours-long meetings. Even though the important thing was that the Social Security trust fund is going down and we need to either raise premiums or lower benefits to bring it into balance. No, but there's just long meetings over tiny details. At DOT, it's big issues. How are we going to save lives? How are we going to allocate research funds? How are we going to have trucks, driverless trucks that go in platoons without having any accidents? It's much less political. Secretary Chow is the most qualified transportation secretary in history. She's had 8 years at the Labor Department. She's been Deputy Secretary of the Department of Transportation, Chairman of the Maritime Commission. She's very detail-oriented, very focused on safety. It's the #1 priority, building infrastructure, and she is very concerned to have a tech-neutral approach. She doesn't want to pick the wrong technology, as with the Sony Vega system. She wants to have guidance. She wants to encourage innovation without placing guidelines on what it should be. In other words, let the private sector produce all this technology and have the best technology win, have motorists and consumers have the best choice that there is. Well, with that, I know that I'm standing between everybody and their coffee break. I'm happy to take questions during the coffee break, during lunch. I look forward to hearing more about what all of you are doing. And again, thank you very, very much for inviting me and for organizing this.